If you were able to say the right words in the right moment to every man and woman in a business setting, how different would your quality of life be? You're tuning in to Conversational Currency, the fastest growing platform that focuses on the value and importance of social skills for business in a digital era, shared through the lens of today's business and thought leaders, hosted by Shadeed Eleazer.
Welcome to Conversational Currency, where we discuss the business behind the brand and the value and importance of social skills for business in a digital era. Now, this segment is Behind the Brand, where we discuss the stories behind the success of today's business and thought leaders. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have a special guest. Now, Bill, my audience, we like to know the why behind the what. So can you just take us briefly on the timeline of some of your motivations, some of your projects, and how you arrived to this point today?
Sure. Well, first I want to just say thank you for having me on. I appreciate you reaching out, and I appreciate the support with the conference. So the conference was an idea that I've had maybe for 4 years, and I've discussed it with some close friends, and just around not feeling like there wasn't a resource for men who were ambitious, who had morals, who had principles. And I felt like a little bit like each person that was like that I met was always on their own path. So I've had the idea of like, well, let's make a conference to get people on that path, and then also a place for people that are already on that path. And then about, I follow you and other folks on Twitter around, I would say, what I would call more of like self-improvement. And I talked to a couple of them, like Jake Viegel and Chief Chuck, who I follow on Twitter. And they also like the idea. So originally it started like around more of like a father-centered conference. And then I think Jake tweeted it or said something publicly, and then I just ran with it. I said, well, I'd like to have Ed Lattimore, Alexander Cortez, Hunter Drew, and I listed off like 10 names, and the majority of them all sort of responded positively to it. So the next day I was like, you know what? I'm just going to run with it. Like, let's see how many people I can agree to get as speakers. And a couple of them reached out, like Ralph Napolitano, Dr. Napolitano reached out and said, hey, I'm totally in for a conference, in person, online. And I just went one by one. I sort of used like the ladder method, I guess is what it's called. I didn't know that while I was doing it, but reaching out to the people that I thought were more definite, and then building up to people maybe that bigger size audience that I wasn't so sure about. And it worked pretty effectively. So most speakers that agreed, I got agreement with in like 2 weeks of having the idea. And that was in, I think, July. And then in end of August, I announced it, and we're here live during the conference. So everything's already set up. So people are watching the talks right now as we speak. I'm not really doing anything other than answering emails with issues, but it's been pretty quiet from that standpoint. And we've got 1,550 people have registered. Close to 70 have purchased the lifetime access, which comes with a Slack community group called the Men of Character, like a mastermind group is how I'm looking at it. That'll exist after the conferences airs. So yeah, it's been a fun 2 months, and it's been a heck of a learning experience of how much work goes into recording all these conversations, doing stuff like what you're doing here. It's a lot more work than people can imagine.
Oh, yes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the words of Bill Masur, the founder of the Men of Character Conference, which is an online summit which focuses on the value of manhood, character, and all qualities that will make up the optimized man for the 21st century. Now, Bill, the idea itself was in your mind for 4 years. And for the people who are watching this broadcast, they also have ideas that they have and they want to start. What were some of the doubts that you were faced with, and how did you overcome them in order to get to this point?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And I think in my talk tomorrow, I actually haven't recorded my own talk because I've been so worried about recording other talks. But in my talk tomorrow, I'll probably talk more about this. And I think I'm still trying to process some of it. But at the end of the day, I think it comes down to the difference between me 4 years ago and me today is that I've done enough of the little things that I trust my own word. And so when I thought that I was going to do it, I believed that I was going to do it. And so I just said, all right, no matter how many people agree to talk, if it's 5 of us online talking, then it's going to be 5 of us. So I think that really drove a lot of the momentum with the speakers, right? They saw that, I was updating them like, hey, I've got the landing page ready. Hey, tell me what you want to as your bio. Like I was consistently showing progress. So I think for people that have ideas and haven't executed on them, because I've been this person for sure for I'd say most of my life, is you need to start with small things and build up your own belief. At the end of the day, it literally doesn't matter what other people think of you. It matters what you think of yourself. I think is 100% the case. So I have done things like gym-wise, like that's been consistent, and I think that's a huge, nice lesson that men can use, especially even women. Doing something that is uncomfortable consistently, and then being able to just apply that to other places. So not all of this conference was fun and games and tweeting. It wasn't very much hard work either, right? It's all based on the computer and digital stuff. But it was a lot of monotonous, I spent the entire weekend, this past weekend, literally, I think I edited videos for like 15 hours straight. My wife just handed me plates of food, and I was editing on 2 computers. So it was a bit of a gruel, and I'm exhausted. And I'm going to take a vacation. Actually, I start vacation right when the next day after the conference ends. But I would say for people that, start doing the small things. I know everybody has big dreams, and I think that's great. I think it's part of human nature is there's this like deep belief inside of you that you're like, if your life's not going well, you always think like, I know there's something greater. And I would say that you're correct on that feeling. But you have to do the little things to then you yourself believe that you can do something much bigger.
Now, that's an excellent point, which brings me to my next point, which is, who was Bill the man before this idea, and how has bringing this idea to fruition changed, optimized, enhanced your worldview?
Well, I think fundamentally I'm the same person. I really believe that. I'm even the same person who was undisciplined 5 years ago. I'm just like a better version of that person. And I think from the 3 months before I started this conference till now, one thing that's been amazing with Twitter, so I probably in July I had maybe like 500 Twitter followers. And I was still getting a great benefit from following and interacting with some awesome individuals. But I started learning how Twitter works and sharing my own thoughts. And then I had a tweet go viral like 2 days before the conference. And then when the conference launched, I went from 900 followers to 2 days before the conference to 4,500 followers 2 days after the conference launched. And the response I got from that tweet, and the response I got from the conference, and the response that I'm getting now from men, one thing that's changed is I think I doubted how much of an influence you can have if you just sort of plant the flag and say, well, this is what I want to talk about. So that's been interesting. I think it's reinforced the idea that in my head that like, and not to get like in a cocky way, like, oh, I have so much influence over people, but I think we fail to realize how much influence you have, like in your own personal life with your people you know, and them seeing you do things and taking lead at your workplace, right? We always think like, oh, well, I'm not a leader. You have some thought, and people are always watching. So it's been very interesting for me to see the reaction of, just because I just created this conference, it's like I'm viewed as somebody who's leading in a way. And then I take that responsibility like seriously. I don't view myself as like somebody who has no flaws or anything, but I feel like I have I'm aligned, right? Like morally, like what I'm doing, my intent is good. So it gives me sort of I don't have any problem saying like, hey, yeah, I want to help you. I want to give you advice if I think you're a little behind me or there's some place where I can add a little to value to somebody. And at the same time, I'm open to getting it the other way. I think that's what I love about this whole Twitter community and the conferences, that it's just a bunch of people that want to help each other. And yeah, so there's like no competition. It's just like, let's help each other and grow. There's enough of everything to go around.
What do you see as the long-term vision? I understand that the conference is still underway and there's amazing things that are starting to happen, and it's starting to reach a bigger footprint and higher influence throughout the Twitter community and beyond that. So where do you see, based on that momentum, the trajectory of this event going?
I don't know, honestly. I think someone asked me this on Twitter, and I was like, I haven't really thought past Wednesday, in all honesty, because I've been doing this all by myself. So I've just been thinking like, all right, I got to send emails. So I have all that scheduled. I got to have all the videos uploaded. I got to have the copy on the website ready. Like I've got a list day to day that I'm doing. So I'm going to go on vacation and I'm going to see. So I do have that Slack community. So I think a big influence on what I do will be the people that have purchased the conference and are now going to purchase the conference over the next couple of days. Having those conversations in that group and seeing like, well, where is it that people are struggling, and is it someplace that I could help? Because I think one of the problems with the conference is it's very general, and I knew this when I launched it, and maybe I almost purposely cast a wide net and said like men of character, and I really do believe in that message. But at the end of the day, in order to really help people, you need to solve a particular problem, and I'm not too sure that that's solving a particular problem. So I want to learn what that is. Maybe I can help with it. Maybe I can't. Maybe I'll work with someone who can. I have a couple ideas. Maybe I'll do another conference is another possibility. So I think it's all open. I like doing things, and I do this in my own personal career. I think other people should do this. You should do things that then open up a new set of like options. And I think this conference has opened up a bunch of different options that I can, different directions I can go in. And I'm just going to analyze it and talk to people that I respect and people in that Slack community and Twitter, and see what's the best place where I can add the most value.
For the man who is watching this broadcast, or for the lady who wants their man to step up or assume greater responsibility within their life, what is your main message to that person who is not tuned in to the conference, but they've maybe seen retweets, they're watching this interview and they want to know why they should tune in, why they should register, why should they purchase the lifetime access after the conference is done?
So I think the advice would be, like, I guess there's like two questions there, right? For the wife of somebody who, maybe the husband is comfortable or the boyfriend is comfortable. That's a really tough one. I think the only time people change is when, I would say that if you want somebody to change in your life, you actually, the best thing that you could do is show them an example and change yourself. That's actually the best thing that you can do. But complaining to them, pointing things out, forwarding him the conference, I think a lot of people get very, they take it personally. Yeah, that person might read like one topic that's in the conference and be like, why do you think I need this? And so it's very difficult, I think, to change other people in that way. My experience has been actually the best way, and I think the conference is an example of that, right? Because I have improved myself, the conference is an outgrowth of that. And then now I think, over the last 2 days, people are watching these conversations, and the response has been literally like 99% positive. People almost on every talk, making one comment or another, like, hey, this is super valuable. Thank you for putting this together. I've gotten emails, I've gotten DMs, I've gotten tweets. So, but I didn't really go out and say, I'm going to change you. I just sort of improved myself and then said, well, let me see what I can put out there to help people. So I would say so that would be my advice for like the wife or the girlfriend, or for the guy himself who's wondering, oh, what's this about? I would say, if you think the idea of being someone of high character, of being someone of your word is important, if you're just sick and tired of the sort of the corruptness that's occurring in society, of like the people that we admire, that they're just not worth admiring in all truth. Like, if you believe that that's the case, then join this conference, listen to some of these talks, purchase the full access so you could join the Slack community. And I think what the internet's allowed us is, like, we can define culture. Like, that's just a fact. Like, look at the media, look at the celebrities that just do it through social media now. There is no more middleman of television and radio. Everyone's on social media. So I think, honestly, we haven't even realized how powerful. We're in the early days still of the internet, and it's going to define culture. They're already doing it, even though, they can call Joe Rogan a web show or whatever, but literally Joe Rogan gets hundreds of millions of views every month, has more influence than any news broadcaster on television, in my opinion. So I think that's where we're at. And if you believe with that, if you want to push sort of the culture, I don't think that we're hopeless. I think a lot of people are like, oh, the culture's gone to crap. Okay, that's great that you realize that, but what exactly are you going to do about it? And so I think the first thing is you got to improve yourself. So that's what the conference is all about. Let's talk about style. Let's talk about health. How can you live as long as possible? How can you be healthy? How can you be a good father? How can you be good in relationships with your wife? How can you keep that marriage exciting? It's like all aspects of what it means to be a good and strong man, in my opinion.
Ladies and gentlemen, character is your signature, meaning when you sign a piece of paper or a document, that signature is what's left behind and what certifies or validates who you are. And if the man in your life, or if you yourself are struggling with how you can find your character, how you can find your place in the world, how you can define your purpose through style, through authenticity, through old school life lessons, through vitality, then the Men of Character Conference is your online definition. What Bill has done is taken action on an idea that has existed for 4 years and amassed an all-star lineup of men, of thought leaders, of influencers who are experts in their own respective areas. I want you to go to the Men of Character website and register for the free classes that are going on right now. But if you want to absorb the content over time, then the lifetime access is the best investment, because then you can watch the videos again and again. You can take notes. You can invite different mastermind groups to study together and improve yourself. So on behalf of Bill Masur, I am Shadeed Eleazer, and you've been tuning in to the Behind the Brand segment of Conversational Currency, where we discuss the value and importance of social skills for business in a digital era. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with us, and for that, we appreciate you.
Thank you for tuning in to Conversational Currency, the fastest growing platform that focuses on the value and importance of social skills for business in a digital era, shared through the lens of today's business and thought leaders. Join us next time for new and exciting content.